A very warm welcome to our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, our show bringing you all the latest news and events happening all around the African continent. And of course, straight away we start with the latest developments in Libya, where the United Nations discussed its approach to enable Libyan elections with parliament members. This came as the UN said the country's military factions agreed to secure elections. We have more details in this report.
In 1 month, the members of the Libyan 5+5 Joint Military Committee GMC held a meeting that led to a number of positive indicators about the continuation of the remarkable state of peace and stability that Libya has been experiencing in the past 2 years. GMC made this statement after the meeting it held in Benghazi. It said full commitment to everything that resulted from the dialogue between GMC and the military and security leaders in Tunis and Tripoli meetings. It affirmed full commitment to everything that resulted from the dialogue between GMC and the military and security leaders in Tunis and Tripoli meetings. The Joint Committee includes 5 members of the military institution in western Libya, likewise from the army forces in the east led by Khalifa Haftar, and has been holding dialogues inside and outside the country for 2 years to unify the army under the auspices of the UN in implementation of the ceasefire agreement signed in October 2020 in Geneva. According to the statement, this round discussed for the first time the file of elections, their security, and the support of the military parties for a smooth political transition, as the committee confirmed that the participants in the negotiating session agreed to enhance confidence between military and security leaders to support the political process and move forward in providing a suitable environment for free and fair elections during the current year and the acceptance of the results from all parties. The military committee expressed its readiness to provide all forms of support to secure the elections in all its stages and urged support for the efforts of the military committee and its Libyan communication committee to remove mercenaries and foreign fighters. It indicated that it was agreed to start practical measures to address the problems of the displaced and the missing and ensure their safe return, in coordination between the concerned security services in the various regions, exchange information about detainees held by both sides, and start taking practical steps to release them. This is one of the sensitive issues over which major differences arose between the Libyan parties in the past years. The head of the UN support mission in Libya, UNSMIL, Abdullahi Bathili, praised the position of the military committee on the upcoming elections and its pledge to secure them and accept their results, and expressed his hope that the military and security meeting of the leaders of the western and eastern regions will be able to move forward towards adopting a code of honor that outlines the features of a favorable political environment, which adheres to by securing free and fair elections in 2023 and endorsing their results. Bathili said the continuation of these meetings will contribute to providing a solid basis for the political settlement that will culminate in resolving the crisis by creating an environment conducive to holding comprehensive, free and fair elections in 2023.
نحن لدينا مصير مشترك.
مصر تسلمت الرئاسة الدورية للاتحاد الإفريقي لعام 2019 وتتطلع كعادتها دوما للتعبير عن شواغل الشعوب الإفريقية الشقيقة الرامية لتحقيق الاستقرار والتقدم ودفع عجلة التنمية قدما. إذا كنتم ترغبون في تغيير وجه القارة الأفريقية فالاتحاد الإفريقي كقيادة تستطيع أن تعمل وتدرس بشكل مركزي لمشروع عملاق لبناء بنية أساسية على مستوى القارة. أنا أتصور أن الأمن والاستقرار استثمار. إذا لم تستقر هذه القارة والأمن فيها بمعدلاته عالية، هذا الأمر سينعكس بالسلب علينا كلنا.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for this afternoon, Mr. Abdul Latif Wahba, our journalist. It's a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Abdul Latif. And let me start by asking you, how do you expect, this peaceful path to proceed in Libya, especially after the military factions have agreed to secure elections?
As you know, this came after an international effort
Yes.
led by Egypt. And you noticed during the last month, for example, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Egyptian Foreign Affairs, met with the agents, with the Turkish foreign ministers, and so on.
Yes.
So we have agreed internationally on the peaceful track and the peaceful solutions for Libya. And this peaceful solutions, I think, was concluded during the negotiations, concluded in the coming elections, and how the Libyan people can hold elections and to choose their political futures in coming periods. Let us say, secondly, that what happened in Sudan, for example, is a great motivation for the Libyan to check democracy.
Yes.
And to go forward democracy. This is, of course, for the unity of Libya, for the prosperity of the Libyan people, and also for becoming Libya a new power in North Africa.
Yes.
This is, of course, to restore its unity and so on.
Absolutely. Mr. Abdul Latif, now, lots of analysts say that this is hopeful news, and the meeting, in Libya is a step towards resolving the authoritarian conflict between the East and the West. How far do you agree with such a statement, sir?
Yeah, of course. This is the core of the problem and the heart of the matter. How to make a reconciliation between the West, government and also the Libyan government and the East. As they came to a result and to a peaceful negotiations, I think it is important for them to continue in this path. To help their country and to drive again the economic development in Libya.
Yes, indeed. Speaking about, the Libyan economy, of course, this turmoil
Yeah.
in the country has greatly impacted, the country's economy, especially in light as well of the global current economic challenges. How do you see, the quick resolving of such the opposition between the two sides affecting the development of Libya as a country, not just politically, but as well economically, as well as it regaining its posture in the region?
As you know that during this decade, and since the conflict happened between the East and the West and so on, Libya loses a great portion of its wealth, and at the same time, as you know that from time to time, the clashes led to the close of some ports specialized in exporting crude oil and so on. It means that they lost their assets and their assets of international society concerning their exports of oil. And at the same time, Libya suffered during this period at the same time from the shortage of the basic infrastructure like electricity, like water, and so on. This is, of course, led the an economic problems in Libya and for the Libyan people.
Absolutely. Mr. Abdul Latif, lots of analysts say that, you know, the new United Nations envoy to Libya has had quite a successful start in his plan to solve the situation in the country by focusing more on the security and military track, you know, unlike the other envoys that preceded him who focused more on politics or the political life in the country, although the core of the Libyan problem is, you know, security and not political. How far do you agree with such a statement, sir?
Yeah, of course, without such actions and the peace process and the ceasefire and so on, of course, you can't run an elections or any political steps in Libya.
Yes.
How can you hold an election inside a political conflict and inside accelerations of some terrorist attacks and so on?
Yes.
This is, of course, I think, as you know, that Egypt, as a broker for the Libyan rivals, reaches to a deal with them to hold the Libyan elections. Firstly, with a ceasefire, and secondly, with a great deal between
Yes.
rivals in Libya to reach to a point of
Yes.
holding elections.
Absolutely right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Mr. Abdul Latif Wahba, our journalist and guest. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and your insight and for joining us on today's edition of Africa Today. And still with our news, we move to Kenya, where Kenya's president has asked the opposition to give talks a chance. His call came as his main opponent urged more protests over electoral reforms and the high cost of living. We have more details in this report.
Kenya's President William Ruto asked the opposition to give talks with the government a chance, while his main opponent urged his followers to protest again over electoral reforms and the high cost of living. Thousands participated in 3 days of protests over 2 weeks in late March, marred by clashes between protesters and police. The protests partly stem from accusations of fraud in August's presidential election, in which Ruto narrowly beat Raila Odinga. Odinga has said the opposition would resume protests after the end of the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan to coincide with talks between it and the government. Ruto's ruling coalition has said the vote was fair, defended its economic record, and called for the protests to stop, saying they cast doubt over the opposition's sincerity in participating in the talks. In late March, Odinga suspended the protests after an appeal from Ruto, but he repeated his call for protests at a rally in Nairobi.
نحن لدينا مصير مشترك.
مصر تسلمت الرئاسة الدورية للاتحاد الإفريقي لعام 2019 وتتطلع كعادتها دوما للتعبير عن شواغل الشعوب الإفريقية الشقيقة الرامية لتحقيق الاستقرار والتقدم ودفع عجلة التنمية قدما. إذا كنتم ترغبون في تغيير وجه القارة الأفريقية، فالاتحاد الإفريقي كقيادة تستطيع أن تعمل وتدرس بشكل مركزي لمشروع عملاق لبناء بنية أساسية على مستوى القارة. أنا أتصور إن الأمن والاستقرار استثمار. إذا لم تستقر هذه القارة والأمن فيها بمعدلاته عالية، هذا الأمر سينعكس بالسلب علينا كلنا.
And moving to our final news item on today's edition of Africa Today, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres visited Somalia. The visit came as the country is witnessing the worst drought in 40 years. We have the details.
Somalia is currently grappling with its worst humanitarian crisis in 40 years, owing to 5 consecutive failed rain seasons. A major impact of this drought has been felt in the farming-rich areas of the south, where much of the population depends on land cultivation and livestock raising. As a result, tens of thousands of people left their homes and began setting up tents on the outskirts of urban cities in search for a better life. The failed rains have so far left 5 million people with acute food shortages and nearly 2 million children at risk of malnutrition. In a March 2023 report released by the government and UN agencies highlighting the situation, it is estimated that about 43,000 people died in 2022, with the majority being under the age of 5.
With this final news item, we wrap up today's edition of Africa Today. You were in the company of myself, Angie Meher. Many thanks for watching.